Welcome to another episode of Croc Talk TV. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And on today's episode of Croc Talk, obviously we are going over, I don't even want to butcher his name. So John, do you want to introduce who we're going to be watching today on film?
I don't want to butcher his last name. I think he's still muted.
All right, Josh, go ahead. You got this.
He is former USC safety Talanoa Hufanga. Is his name? It's a little bit tricky, but yeah, it's Hufanga and just Talanoa. Like you think of Talon, just Talanoa.
All right, Talanoa. Okay, I can do that. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go in on this film. All right, Josh. Josh is with Trojan Wire, right?
Yes. USA Today's Trojan site.
USA Today's Trojan site. All right. So he's definitely very familiar with not just Hufanga, but the USC Trojans in general. So he's gonna have good insight. He already talked to us about the differences with the defensive coordinators between 2019 2020. Now the film that we're gonna have on today is from 2019. The things that we really want to identify is who is he, right? Like what type of motor does he have? Does he have a good anticipation for plays? Is he flying around? Everything that we want to see, like in a defensive back, in a safety. We hear certain things, right? Well, he's not very big, even though he looks like big on film, but he's not very big, 6 foot, 200 pounds, but isn't the fastest of guys and all that. So those are the things that we want to bring. And me not being so much of a safety linebacker guy, I brought on my guy, Jon Hagler from the Crocker Report. Jonathan, my boy John, he specializes in, I called you Jonathan. Is it Jonathan?
It's both. I go with both. Okay. Everybody calls me.
Yeah. So my dog John, he from Crocker Report, he specializes in the safety position, linebackers, all that type of stuff. He understands that front a lot more than I do, and he can speak that language. So I brought him on so he can break it down and really, give you guys a different type of perspective than possibly, what I would give you guys. So Josh is here. He's going to give a little bit of insight here and there. He'll be asking some questions about maybe what we're seeing. But Jon Hagler, he's going to be the guy manning this whole thing. So before we get started, as we always do, just want to have a conversation, check in with everybody, see how everybody is doing. Obviously answer any questions that you guys might have for not just myself, but for Josh and John as well. So start looking into some of these comments, and I see a question right here. Croc, I'm gonna tell Arkansas Baptist coach, name you the head coach. No, I'm cool. What? If I do take a coaching job somewhere, especially at the collegiate level, I think that would cut down on a lot of the things I'm doing with my, YouTube and all that type of stuff. Like they don't like that stuff as much. I think I would, a lot of that would have to take a back seat. So can't see me, stopping any of this anytime soon. So coaching definitely isn't in the near future, at least for me. I like this right here. My homie asked me if I get my 49 takes from ESPN. I said, bitch, I don't watch NFL Live. I only watch Croc Talk TV. I like it. I like it. Hey, the fact that he thought you got it from, ESPN. Actually, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I like it. I like it. All right, here we go. If Hufanga stays healthy, he will be a beast. Very physical player. John, I mean, you've watched him. So what has kind of stood out to you, what you've seen from him so far, just in general, watching this film?
Just in general, I think he's the type of guy that he's a good football player. You know what I mean? He's the type of guy that guys want to play with. Obviously, I think he's limited as far as like speed and things like that. So I don't necessarily see a ton of bursts from him, but I feel like he gets to the ball, he flows to the ball well, and he's real disruptive. Josh mentioned earlier, he's really good at executing what the coaches ask him to do, and I think a lot of his success was based off of his assignment, whether that be as a hook curl player, flat defender. I feel like he really excelled in those roles. And so, he is physical. He's not afraid to tackle. I think he's got some things to clean up, and we may see that on film. He's not afraid to tackle at all, which I love. And
he's learning with Troy Palamalu too. So if he takes Palamalu's approach to tackling, then look out.
Yeah.
Troy's the guy. So I think anything you do that model Troy Palamalu will be golden.
So was Troy Palamalu fast? Now, obviously, he played fast,
Yeah.
and I think part of
He
playing
ran
fast. Did he run fast?
He was one of those dudes that the best way to describe it, and I know you know this, is like some guys don't have speed on that 40 time, but when you see them in football pads, they're a lot quicker than what their 40 time would suggest. Some dudes just play faster in pads, it seems. Like I don't maybe it's Marvel physics or something, similar to Captain America. I don't know, but some dudes just do. He wasn't the fastest guy in terms of 40 speed, but man, he understood everything. Like Troy knew where he was supposed to be. No assignment was too small for him. Like he felt that just being out there, like that, it's a huge responsibility in and of itself. So it didn't really matter what Palamalu was asked to do. And you, John, mentioned that there's a lot of that in Hufanga. Like he's a guy that players want to play with and coaches want to coach because he listens. He does what he's asked to do, and he's not out there for personal glory. The personal glory just comes as a result of doing what he's asked to do. So
yeah.
So we got a 40 time
for
on
Troy. I did
Troy.
not realize that.
I thought I didn't think it was a 4.33. I thought he was like a 4.38, 4.39 guy.
So you knew you knew he was a 4.3 guy though.
Yeah, I know he could run. Like I know he
You
tested
feel like he
very
had a
well.
fast 40 time. Oh damn.
Yeah, he tested
Man, I was
very
overseas.
well coming out. So I was aware of that. But it's just Troy's Troy Palamalu, man. I mean, it's unfair. If you mention somebody in the same breath as him, like the hair, the plays, the jumping over centers. But yeah, Troy's a dude, obviously.
Yeah, and I think one thing that can help a guy, even if he isn't the fastest right now, clearly we see Troy Polamalu was, but if Hufanga isn't the fastest of guys, just kind of playing with really good anticipation can definitely help. That can put you in spots where, you're a step or two ahead in comparison to somebody that does run a 4.3, but maybe doesn't play with that same type of anticipation. What made, a guy like Luke Kuechly good? Well, I mean, he ran fast too, so maybe he's a bad example, but yeah, I'm not going to use that. But anyways, some things, that make certain guys good, like it's not always something that's on paper. So, I think when you see this film today, we'll see if maybe he plays faster than what his 40 time says. And I think that'll be something that the 49ers would like to see, because everything that you're hearing about Hufanga is like, well, he's not fast. He's not fast. He's not big. He's not fast. He's not big. Like, and those type of things. So I'm anxious to see the film. So I guess, are y'all ready to get started? Everybody ready? If good. So, here we go. I will share the screen. Oops, wrong thing. Here we go. All right, here we go. Can everybody see this?
Yep, good to go.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. I'll try to make this bigger. There we go. Can I get bigger than that? Nope. All right, here we go. So, again, this game right here is against Notre Dame. I'll always try to kind of show where he's at, and he's right here in the box. So right away, when you see a guy, right here, John, for a guy that is a safety, is this just kind of the defense that they're playing? Like, and I know Josh kind of alluded to something like this from 2019, but what is he doing here?
I mean, it's something I've seen them do often. He's in the box a lot. Now this looks like they just adjusted prior to the snap. But obviously, like he's in the run fit. We got two tight ends in the game. Probably a heavy run tendency right here. Ian Book's not the scariest passer in the world. I want Talanoa close to the box. Especially against a Notre Dame. That's where he's best at. That's what I want to see from him. He's probably he probably has a tight end or a hook curl defender right here. If I had to guess,
because he did line up over. If you kind of see the start of the play before they flip sides, he's right here lined up over a tight end.
Yeah.
When the tight ends flip sides, he went with the strength. All right, so come off. Now we talked about him having a motor, right? And first thing he does is run and just like, maybe he's not even sure who has the ball, but he's going to go in there and hit somebody because the ball carrier is back here. Look at him. Like, I'm just going to go in there and hit somebody. So, right away, I'd say, I like the motor, at the very least. And I try to identify a little something with each play. Good job of not staying blocked, right? Kind of disengaging real quick. Boom, get off me. Come in here, go, throw his body in there, try to hit somebody. So those are things that are really cool to see right away. Here he is right here. Now he's high. Nothing really to see there, but just kind of just showing maybe the versatility in his alignment, right? I mean, the first rep we saw him right down in the box. Now you see him a little high. So, when you hear people talk about him, they make it seem like he's strictly like a box guy. And we'll obviously see, where he's better at and whatnot. But I think that's one thing that, that's good to see is that they did utilize him in different ways, at least this year in 2019.
Yeah, and that's something that's interesting because like when I went back and watched film on him myself, I feel like they put him at deep or back there at safety when they didn't necessarily want him, too involved in man. I didn't see him in a ton of zero man coverage, things like that. I feel like they put him back there because he is an instinctual player. He does have playmaking skills, and you typically want that type of guy back there. But I feel like if they didn't have him in the box, they wanted him deep. I feel like they didn't want him matched up necessarily with the dudes on offense.
Gotcha. So here he is, and I believe this is him right here. Seems like he always lines up to the tight end side, so to the strength. He's coming off the edge. Look like he's actually blitzing there. I'm trying to see if he forced this pump fake when he jumps up. See him up in the air right here, right now.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
He may get buried, but I like it.
Yeah, he landed safely that time, but that's definitely like something that's a little scary because especially those linemen. I think one thing about the linemen that's a little underrated, these dudes are hella strong. So a lot of times if they punch you in that stomach, which he pushed him, but if he would have punched him really hard, he'd be in trouble.
Yeah, I wish he would use his hands more when he made contact initially. That's something I really watch with I feel like good safeties utilize their hands, or the good football players in general. I feel like he's so much of a crash and bang guy.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, in this particular game, is a Clancy Pendergast defense. And this is sort of, I'm actually not even sure if he'd been fired by this point. I know that he and T. Martin were both fired in the same year. I just can't remember at which point. I think he was fired either right after the Notre Dame game or right before it. But you kind of just see this aggressive 5-2 that Pendergast uses, and he's consistently, to me, putting his guys in horrible positions, which is why you see Ian Book able to pick up yards. Like, quarterbacks ran on Pendergast all day. Like, it was atrocious. Like if you were facing even a moderately athletic quarterback, he could put up close to 100 yards on you if he felt like it. And I'm not sure how much coaching these guys were really getting from Pendergast versus next year when Todd Orlando comes in. And like you'd mentioned, you don't like him in man, or it's not something that you're fond of. And Todd Orlando likes to use that quarters and zone coverage to kind of give his guys a little bit of help, but also to his mind, it's a simpler defense. I'm asking you to do this. Focus on this. And if you understand this space and you understand it well, then the entire defense is going to work. So it sort of whittled down the responsibilities for a guy like Hufanga, who might not be good at everything that you're asking him to do.
Right. So it's just probably something that allows him to play a little faster.
Yeah, it seems to me. And when he gets to play faster, when he doesn't have to think as much, you start to see, what John said is, he's a football player. You start to see that come out. You start to see this guy who's instinctual, understands the game, grew up around it, and you kind of get the sense that there's talent there. He's maybe like an every down player, but you get the sense that if he had the right coaching and they brought him along well, which I expect out of the Niners with D'Amico Ryans. That there's somebody in there. There could be a dude in there. You just, you don't know. He could turn out to be like Troy Palamalu, or he could become Su'a Cravens. Like it could go either way.
Yeah,
That's funny you said that. That's who I thought of. Initially when I first heard about
Su'a
Talanoa.
Cravens.
Yeah, because he was a safety hybrid type guy, whatever. And I feel like he was a bigger guy, which is why I think, we got through on him a lot sooner. But I feel like if he was 15 or so more pounds heavy, I feel like people would probably say that more about him because he's in the box a lot. But he's such a good playmaker, it kind of gets, looked over a little bit.
Well, we see him right here, and I think this is one of those plays where when you start talking about guys that maybe lack a little bit of athleticism, right? Like maybe it isn't just that freaky athlete where, there are some guys that'll shed this block here and then chase this running back down and get him for a loss of yards or no gain. And he doesn't give you that. Now, again, we do see the motor still, right? To, just continue to run to the ball and kind of get there. And you never know, like when you're running to the ball like that, maybe there's a fumble and you're able to recover it. So that's the positives with having the motor, but also with not being the most athletic guy or the freakish athlete. Instead of getting a guy right here, right, peeling off that block and being able to chase this guy down and get those legs and tackle him down here, the guy ends up being able to slightly turn the corner and picks up a few yards. So those are just kind of little things I noticed when thinking about like some of the freakier guys that are in the NFL and kind of some of the things they're able to do. And when guys be like, damn, how do you do that? Like, it seems like so far, at least in this 2019 film, he's not going to make those type of plays. But obviously, we'll continue to watch. He's up here. And he's done a good job. I mean, they played him off. They played him down in the box. You see him here. You would like to see what type of, anticipation is he trying to play with. I'm curious to see why we have two guys here, both trying to run underneath the out route. So
yeah, he should be watching the post.
Is he supposed to be playing this? Or maybe something underneath? Let's see.
I mean, I don't think there's any way he has that area if that backer or if that guy's dropping there.
Right.
That's just him. I think he's just trying to jump that, and it kind of left the middle of the field open.
Did he maybe play that one too shallow? Came down a little bit too far?
Well, I think what Jon is saying, like, this is probably your underneath defender.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even have. There's no reason for him at all to be driving this, and I think that's what Jon is saying. So he should be looking more inside.
I was actually
here.
looking down here.
Oh, you're looking down here?
Yeah, I was looking down here at the guy right underneath 84, thinking that was real quick.
Nah, okay, he's here, right here.
Yeah.
So he's up.
I was thinking this guy right here looks like he's supposed to be handling that area right there, but it feels like maybe he comes down a little bit too narrow. Plus, it seems like a really good play design because they'd already cleared out that area when number 10 comes across. So, yeah, it's just a good play by Notre Dame.
Yeah, so you see him here, and I wonder if he's vacated that area a little too much.
Yeah, he's real eyesy. I've noticed
and
that.
You see him at the end of the play.
Right.
You see him kind of raise his hands like, "What happened?" Like,
that was a busted coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, one side may have been playing a different coverage than the other.
All right, here he is. Looks like he's kind of probably in like some type of quarters here. I try not to guess too much of the coverages and whatnot, but definitely away from the screen, so nothing really to see there. I'll tell you who I was impressed with the little film, like kind of watching the safeties. Number 21 for USC.
Yeah. I noticed him. I noticed him when I watched theirs.
Where's who? Oh, there's who. Okay, here he goes right here. Coming off the edge, gets up, hangs in the air and bats the ball down. That's good. Now that shows some type of athleticism there. The quarterback tries to pump fake him. He jumps in the air and he still is able to kind of hang long enough to knock the ball down. That's good stuff right there. That's a good job. So when you start talking about, wanting that playmaker type guy, this is one of those things that you would like to see and kind of take note of.
And that's so emblematic of what Clancy Pendergast asks these guys to do. Like, you saw him use Uchenna Nwosu a lot like that because he just had this sort of like freak ability to block passes and guess when quarterbacks were gonna pump fake or whatnot and just get that extra bit of hang time in the air.
Mm-hmm. Disruptive.
Yeah.
This is cool. Start off at a single high.
Mm-hmm.
Come down on that crosser. Good.
Yeah, I like it.
Things I like to see with that, just kind of knowing that his eyes are in the right place, right? I mean, we saw the play before a couple of plays ago where he, looked like maybe he was kind of lost in space a little bit. Here is like he's clear exactly what his assignment is, picking up 3.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there goes 21. I'm telling you, I like 21. Did 21 come
Palamalu?
out?
Isaiah Palamalu?
Yeah, him.
I think he's still in. I think.
Okay.
Palamalu's still in. He's still on the roster.
Yeah, I like him. That's somebody who I was watching against, like, I want to say it was Oregon. He had like a pick 6, and yeah, he jumped out to me. All right, here he is right here at the line.
He flows.
Yeah. Nothing special there. Like you said, kind of just flows with the play. I think the interesting thing just so far is just really how much they play him around the line of scrimmage for a guy who's not that big. Now, again, this is the biggest 200-pound guy I've ever seen because
he may have cut weight to run faster.
Okay.
I don't know what he weighed in at. Josh, you may have a better idea. What was he listed at on the USC's profile? But a lot of guys cut weight to run faster, and he's a guy who knew he probably had to run fast. So it's not out of the question for him to get down to 200.
So here he is right here coming off this edge. That's good stuff. Just kind of get in there, throw his arm in there a little bit, coming around the corner hot. Yeah, he because it's like, dude, I was 200 pounds.
215.
Okay. Yeah, he's more of that. Because, I mean, I weigh anyway. I weigh anywhere between 195 to 200 pounds. And with him weighing in at 200 pounds, like, I'm like, dude, I didn't look like this on film.
He's my size. Like, that's like the role, because we played a ton of quarters at JSU, and I played around 215. And I did a lot of what he did. We ran a 4.25, but his job responsibility right now as a primary, hook curl flat defender, every now and then you'll match up with somebody. I feel like I know his game very well because I see it when he's doing it.
Now we talk about his coverage skills, but I think this is good right here. Again, the tight end that's releasing. Is that Cole Kmet? Number 84?
I like how he stayed in front of him, played big.
Yeah, so what I call that is taking the charge. Like, so just kind of like in
a catch technique.
Yeah. And it's like, you take the charge, you square up, get in front, and just like basketball, right? Like you take a charge here, you take the charge, and then you just latch on inside and then be able to run with the guy. So this is good to see because if he is who we think he is, maybe not the the freakiest of athletes and whatnot, you would like to see him be able to guard tight ends. And I want to say that's Cole Kmet that's with Chicago now, maybe. But he was a draft pick, and I know he was a tight end, one of the better tight ends in the 2019 class. So just
put him out.
Trusting him in space to be able to guard a guy like that.
Yeah, it was Cole Kmet.
Yeah. In here. All right, here he is right here. Nothing really see there.
Way to flow.
Ball away. Here he is right here. Boundary safety.
Fit.
So real quick, let me stop sharing the screen real quick. Get back to the StreamYard, kind of get to some of the questions. So so far, just kind of what you've seen, like what would you how would you sum up like just kind of what you've seen from him so far?
From this game, he does his job. I think and that's what you want to see. And you'll play in the league a long time if you just do your job. But I think Notre Dame game right now, he's done his job so far. He's played well. He's flowed well. He has good effort. Not a ton of, like you said, matchup. He matched up with the tight end on that one, but just doing what he has to do. So, I mean, so far so good.
Yeah. I think with him, it's clear that, even Pendergrass, with maybe he's not, the best of coordinators, it seems like he's definitely trying to put Hufanga in a more advantageous situation for who he is, kind of, line him up, like keep him away from having to be in space against somebody that might be able to give him some work in the open field. Definitely seems like, they're utilizing just his physicality, like around the line of scrimmage a lot. He's rushing the quarterback. I wonder if maybe they're just like kind of letting him be free sometimes. Sometimes there's guys where it's like, hey, if you see something, you can go. I wonder if they give him some of those type of, opportunities as well. When we see him kind of rushing off the edge. Seen a couple of plays where he looks to be a little bit more of a, like you guys have said, kind of just a guy who wants to make plays. But there was one play where I'm like, man, if you want to see somebody that's like a freak athlete that does freaky things, he kind of had that opportunity where he came and disengaged, and it was like, man, if you can get there and chase him down, now we're talking about big time stuff, and he didn't necessarily make that play, right? Like that is the play.
Honest about his limitations. This isn't a guy that's gonna, catch Tyreek Hill in the open field. That's just not his strength. I will say this though. I only looked up one game to sort of back this up, but to my mind, when I picture Talanoa Hufanga's career at USC, he always seemed to really show up against teams like Notre Dame, Utah, Arizona State, where you're going to get that work whether you want it or not. These guys are going to be physical. They're going to beat you up over 60 minutes. And he always seemed to shine in those games. He does his job. He produces. Like in the Utah game this year, he had an interception, and I want to say he had like a forced fumble and a fumble. Like he just had one of those games where just by doing his job, that stuff happened. It wasn't exactly like Croc said. It's not like he has this one freak play where it's like, that freak play got him the fumble and the fumble recovery. It's being in the right place at the right time and doing what was asked of you led to you being in a position to hit that guy in the backfield, dislodge the ball, and then recover it. And I think that to me is sort of emblematic of who he is. The tougher the competition, the harder this guy wants to play, but he doesn't play with this. I saw somebody say this on the comments earlier, like I don't think he plays with the reckless abandon of Bob Sanders. Like Bob Sanders was out there hitting dudes with total disregard for his personal well-being. Talanoa Hufanga, we were talking about this before air, which is why I'll say it while we're on air. Talanoa Hufanga is learning from Troy Palamalu in this offseason as he was getting ready for the draft. He was working with Palamalu. And I think that's really, that's the type of guy he's going to be. Now, obviously, we've established that Palamalu was much faster, but he's going to hit you in ways that sort of protect himself. He's not going to sort of just leap, throw his whole body in the air and then, dislocate his shoulder or something. And he's not really, I know somebody else had said this too, I'll pass it on after this. He's not really a guy that lands concussions either. So I don't think he's going to have a career where, he's like somebody said, like Borland, where he has a couple of concussions and retires. That's not the type of guy he is. And he hasn't had any of those problems. So if he started having them now, which is possible, I'd be a bit surprised because he's never sort of shown. He's very durable.
All right. Well, that's good. Definitely for the 49ers who have dealt with a plethora of injuries over the last, I think they've probably been the most injured team since like 2014. So having, maybe going in the draft with guys that are a little bit more safe from a durability standpoint, I could definitely see that being the case. But all right, here we go, y'all. Let's start. Let's see if there's some questions in here. Hard hitting don't make you great. Bob Sanders didn't have a long career. All right. And it's like, no argument for me with that. And it's crazy because Bob Sanders was like a guy, right? Like Bob Sanders was a maniac on the field. And it is unfortunate that his career didn't last longer. Let's see. Why do you use one to look for NFL players as a test of intelligence? Real dumbed down version of the SAT. Same 10 questions on repeat. I don't know. I know I took the test. Do you remember taking the test? Did you take it?
Yeah, I remember taking it. It was just, I felt like it was just one of those things. NFL teams are just trying to gather as much information on you as possible.
Yeah.
It's weird, and I got it, and even halfway through it, I'm just like, why? Like, what's the point?
They have a similar test when you apply to be a server at Red Lobster. So I need people to know that like this sort of like intelligence assessment happens. And like we used to give my old roommate, a bunch of shit because me, the best man at my wedding, Lewis, and my roommate, we were all living together. So we were all roommates. Zach all went in and applied to Red Lobster on the same day. We all had to do the server test and all that jazz. Lewis and I passed it, and Zach failed he failed the little mini SAT, and we never let him forget it. Like anytime he made a mistake, we're like, and that's why you failed the Red Lobster test. So a lot of places use this really pointless and just archaic way of determining whether or not you're going to make mistakes. I don't know that there's any benefit to the Wonderlic at all, but they're not the only place that does it.
Right. All right, let's see. Here we go. We got my bad. Here we go. Brian Carter. Do you see anything with his tackling that would be a reason for his 2 broken collarbones?
I see
that was Pendergast.
Yeah, he's his tackling was something that I saw it pop up, so I let myself go back and I watched 4 games from 2020. He scares me at times because a lot of times he'll go in with his head down. I didn't see anything necessarily that would just make me. I see him go with his shoulder every now, but who doesn't, right? I just feel like it's pretty normal. I saw pretty basic stuff. I saw. He's not I don't think he's the best tackler in the world. Like I think he's a big effort tackler guy. I think he pops up. He misses his fair share of tackles. He makes his fair share. We saw 60 plus through 6 games this year, right? But I didn't. That's just something I guess that's happened to him twice. I don't necessarily see a collarbone zone to the way he tackles. He makes him prone to that injury.
All right, and we have Keith Harden here, and this will be the last question before we get back to the film. Did he get a concussion or 2? And I believe, Josh, you kind of answered that right and said no. I think you have yourself muted.
He was in concussion protocol in 2019, but he also had an ankle sprain at that time. I think Hufanga actually wound up being okay, but Keaton Slovis was not okay. That was the week when he and Keaton Slovis were both in concussion protocol. But I think he wound up being okay and made the game. It was Keaton Slovis who didn't. But I can only recall 1 concussion, which over the course of 4 years at safety, Bob Sanders. 1 concussion. I don't know. Concussions. The brain is a crazy thing, man. There's no way to predict how any human being is going to react.
Right.
100%.
All right, here we go. So we're back to the film. See if anything kind of stands out. Right here. Here he is right here. Kind of come off that edge. Okay. You see the motor a little bit, right?
Yeah. Well, he knows when he's going.
Something like that puts some pressure on the right tackle. But hell of a job by the right tackle, right? I mean, obviously, like Hufanga is not a pass rusher, but
he's still a safety. That speed that's hard to pick up.
Just the way he handled that speed and looked kind of unbothered. Look at this. I'm not an offensive line guy, but I know this looks good.
Kick. Good hands. Okay. Yeah, he got back there. He knew it was coming. He's smart. But he doesn't stop, though. That's the thing I do like about him.
Hufanga knew he wasn't going to win that matchup either. Hence that pointless turnaround that went nowhere. He's like, I'm not beating this guy. Maybe I'll try and do something else. And he still stayed with him.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's identify where he's at. Here he is going to the tight end again. Are they in man coverage?
Mm-hmm.
I think he dropped off to his zone.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here, but here he is.
Personnel issues.
Yeah, then they didn't tackle. But they had like serious numbers when they snapped the ball. It's like,
that play should have been dead over there.
Like you couldn't throw it. Like you couldn't throw. Yeah, you couldn't be like, oh.
I don't understand how. Man, that just gives me flashbacks to that 05 game against Texas, and they had Vince Young in the backfield and just.
And it looks like an RPO like type. He could have probably threw that.
That's what I'm saying. That's crazy.
Okay, right here. Boom.
Oh, got dipped on. Oh, no. So ideally, I don't think you want to see that, and we'll see it from the other angle. But, we talk about him being like a physical tackler. Obviously, he's getting blocked at the same time, so that's difficult, when you're getting blocked at the same time as you're trying to disengage to make a tackle. But
that's rough.
Even then, you never just want to get dipped on like this.
But see, that's where I wish he would use. Like, I feel like he could have posted more. He throws his shoulder in there on a lot of blocks. Like, I get it, but I feel like if he had more space, he probably still gets trucked. But I just want to see him use his hands more.
Yeah. So here he is right here, and just boom.
You see, he lets him get inside of him.
He lets him take the inside, and he just tries to like hit him. There's no attempt at wrapping up of any kind. Like it's
bad
just, his
angles.
arms are there, but bad angles, bad form, and man, if I haven't seen that 1,000 times against this defense.
All right, let's see. Here he is right here.
And you still saw some of that poison of bad tackling left over from the Pendergast administration, even this year with Todd Orlando. Like, I truly do think it was something that wasn't really coached up or a talking point for Clancy. Because he really did, he hated recruiting. He hated doing a lot of crap, which makes you wonder why the dude was a college coach in the first place. So there are a lot of these finer details that when you see in a player like Hufanga, you begin to understand. You're like, okay, as beastly as this guy was in college, it makes sense why he was a 5th round pick. Like there's a bit of a project here.
Well, I had a being generous. DC, he used to talk about teams that tackle well, and he said it started with recruiting guys that can tackle well. Because typically it's about the guys who are better at getting another man down. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And you recruit guys that do that well. You typically have a defense that tackles well, and you can work on it all you want to, but tackling is so much of a mindset
it's institutionalized in a sense,
right?
Yeah.
Something you practice at it in youth football, your peewee, all the way up, and if it's not something that you do, and you weren't really recruited for doing it, it's like, yeah, you can, when a guy gets to college, you can teach him French in 4 years, but is he really going to remember it?
Yeah, because you're just not tackling that much. You're not tackling like the higher up you go in football, the less you tackle live. Like you're not going to tackle 3 times.
I think that's an underrated. That's an underrated part, right? Like, I think a lot of people just think the tackling gets better as you get older, and it's like, man, like the older or higher up levels you go, the less you actually tackle.
You stop. Yeah, it's crazy. Like once a week sometimes.
Where's he at right here?
Okay, I like the trigger. I just wish he made the play.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that kind of goes back to a little bit again, and I mean, this is tough, right? You got a guy running the shallow, a tight end that you're in man coverage on against, and he does that, but that just kind of is another part of that, the freakish ability, right? Where you look at some of the safeties, and I don't want to compare him to a safety like Derwin James, right? I mean, where we know what type of freak athlete he is, but I think plays like this are kind of why a guy like Derwin James goes first round, and a guy like Hufanga goes, 5th round. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, again, and I want to just use context here. This is 2019, not 2020, so it's not the most updated film of him, maybe these are some of the things that he did clean up. But just from an ability standpoint, like to me, this is just, just a lack of, just being a step slow. And when you start talking about, a 4.6 in comparison to a 4.4, these are some of the things that make a difference, like these type of plays.
Yeah.
I think for me, a lot of it too is like Pendergast is putting him up there and then asking him to cover that tight end, and it's like, dude, you're already beat. Like you're that high up.
He could have made that play. Like
he could, he just missed the tackle.
He should have. It just.
He got a nice reroute by 10. Nice reroute. Boom. Knock him back.
Close. He's there. Just make the play.
Just
and there's a tough thing. If he is a little bit faster, instead of kind of diving from here, he's right here to where he can just kind of wrap up and make the tackle. So that's what that that a little bit more bursty guy with more acceleration. Like
I don't even. Somebody said bad angle. I don't even know if it's a bad angle. He was there. It just.
Well, that was the only angle he could have taken.
Yeah, that's the only angle. Because look, he has to go. He has to go underneath. Well, he has to go underneath him. So that's why you see that angle. Watch.
Yeah, there's really not much else he can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a combination of a good route, bad tackling, and Cole Kmet being Cole Kmet.
The one thing I will say, and I kind of sometimes like to point out something that another guy does, like this dude's gonna score, right? Yeah. But this guy is like, I don't care if he's gonna score or not. Like he's gonna feel
a corner.
Me. And look at him. Boom. Like no matter what, he was going to score, and he just went and hit him regardless. So I like that. You start trying to, think about like the mindset of a player and whatnot. He might have hurt himself, but
you usually do though. Plays like that, I was just about to say, plays like that, you're usually the one that gets hurt. Like he's like, my shoulder.
Nothing really to see there. Here he is right here.
He may be lined up at linebacker more time than not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you kind of tallied up his numbers, PFF sometimes, they'll tally up how many times you're at, a nickel spot or safety or corner or linebacker or whatever. Like, and I think technically he's probably at the linebacker spot more times than anything else. Because right here, he's kind of like a 4-3 linebacker, right? Yeah. Like you got four guys here. He's definitely like a 4-3 linebacker. I mean, he plays here a lot, so.
Coming off the edge.
So I like the anticipation and even this, and we'll probably see it from the backside, but he's responsible probably for the pull and just for him to kind of diagnose exactly what's going on, right? He's reading the quarterback right now and the running back at the mesh point.
Yep. Good job.
So, I mean, I want to, it sounds like maybe I've kind of been getting on him a little bit. So I wanted to point out, just some positives with maybe his anticipation.
He's gone.
Now there you kind of see like,
but there you go with Isaac Taylor Stewart again. That guy's scoring, but Isaac Taylor Stewart says, I'm still going to hit you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll talk about him later. But I think Talanoa, I think his thing is when I evaluated him, I took it as you see some guys play at 60 miles per hour, some guys play at 100 for plays. I feel like he plays at like 75 the whole time.
Yeah.
I feel like you rarely see a change in speed. He just has a nice, good pace to the way he plays. Like, you know what I mean? Like right there, like he's not slow, he's not fast. He just kind of, he's chugging along. I think that's why he is productive though, because there's not really a dip in the pace that he plays at. But he's not a free, like I said, he's not a burner.
Yeah.
No.
I think
just if you're asking that of him too, that's probably on coaching. If you're putting him in a position more than once or twice a game where he has to be responsible for somebody with a substantial amount of speed.
And that's what kind of worries me a little bit. Like imagine if he played Alabama, right?
We don't have to. He did.
I'm just saying, would they?
He did. They got the shit kicked out of him.
I'm talking about like, if you from an offensive perspective, who do we attack? would he be the guy that they would attack vertically? Like
Right.
if Alabama lines up with Smitty and Mechie and Waddle and whoever else, like do they go at Talanoa? Because like I feel like they would, because obviously like they're kind of hiding him, but they're also playing to his strengths as well.
Right. You know, the tough thing is like in the NFL, you can't really hide. Like
No.
you know what I'm saying? And that's the tough
Yeah.
thing. So and again, I want to kind of use context a little bit here and acknowledge that this is 2019.
Mhm.
But that's another play that you would like to see him make here. I think what I'm seeing so far is maybe some of the worries that other people have. Like John, one of the things that you said when we first kind of got on, and I told you to kind of describe him and use the word good football player. And I think that's always a positive. But one thing that has kind of shown up over and over is that he definitely lacks the ideal athleticism. And this isn't like me going off of numbers. This is me, you know, and us on this film kind of going off of plays. So when you see plays like this right here, where you want to see a guy kind of close and get his balance and make that tackle, and he just doesn't get there. Now, I'm not saying that these things are easy, but you know, if you're looking for him to be a starting safety in the NFL,
you got to make that. Yeah.
Or even just a guy that gets on the field, because I think what most people forget, and they probably, you know, I hit the wrong button.
And that's at least the third time we've seen him come up, you know, that short too. So, I mean, I don't feel that either one of you are being unfair toward him in any sense. Like, I think maybe if anything, you're underplaying some of these some of these issues. But like your guest said, not a lot of linebackers are burners.
Right. Have you watched linebackers come to the NFL recently?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two parts to this. Like, the linebackers, a lot of the linebackers that are coming to the NFL are kind of, you know, more of burners, guys that are being drafted in the first round. When you're looking at the Devin White, the Bush, and those type of guys, right?
Parsons.
I mean, they are running in, you know, the 4.4s, Smith, you know, those type of guys. But when guys slip, a lot of times it is kind of something because of maybe a lack of athleticism when you're talking about the linebacker position, or maybe they just went to a small school. Now, when you look at a guy like, say, Fred Warner, who was, you know, athletic, and maybe he didn't run like, you know, in the 4.4s or anything like that. I don't know what Fred Warner ran, but Fred Warner also was 6'4", 235 pounds, where Hufanga is 6 foot, 6'1", 200 pounds that he weighed in at. And maybe he can get up to a 215. So when you start looking at him and kind of what ideally somebody with his size is, he's not that. And that's why a guy like him would slide.
If he adds that extra 15 pounds, because we're watching him here, and if he adds that extra 15 pounds, are you worried that maybe at that point you're drawing maybe a little bit too much increased attention to what's again, and maybe he builds up some back end speed, you know, as he receives NFL coaching, but you kind of get the sense that if teams are going to attack him, this is what you're going to see. He almost gets there, but doesn't. And if he adds that extra 15, does that maybe enhance that, you know, tenfold?
Right.
Well, I think that's his playing weight. I think he probably plays at 215. Like when I said that he probably cut weight to run fast, because, you know, you have your agent, he's talking to scouts, you know, you're getting info back, or you're getting how fast is he. The first thing you're going to tell your guy to do is cut weight, because if you looked at his pro day workout, he worked out with a shirt off primarily. He didn't look thick. On film, he looks like a thicker guy. Right. Like, so it's kind of apparent like that he dropped a little bit to perform well, which is what he had to do. They probably told him, you need to run 4.5 or you're gonna slip.
Now, do you think maybe he's saying because and you know, going to the NFL and kind of they'll ask you or tell you a certain weight that you have to play at. So I know with me, it was like, hey, you know, I think I was like 198 at the time, maybe like 12%, 13% body fat, and they're like, nah, we want you at, you know, or I was like 12% body fat, and they were like, nah, we want you at, you know, between 193, 195, and you have to be under 10% body fat. Like that was what they wanted for all their DBs, because that was where they were going to get the most out of, you know, my athleticism and stuff like that. And for every pound that you were over, you get fined $1,000. So you can't be over. So maybe they'll do something like that with him, where they're noticing, hey, you are a step late on a lot of this stuff. maybe you slimming down is what was best for you as far as from a movement skill standpoint. And we're, even though you play a little bit more of a physical type of game, we're still going to have you a little bit lighter. And maybe instead of 215, maybe you're 208. And they feel like that'll be kind of the range where they'll get the most
split
out
the
of them.
difference.
Yeah. So, so plays like this here, instead of it being a near tackle, like we've seen a couple of times now, he has that extra step to be able to make that play. But that's definitely, again, like, and again, I'm not saying that this is an easy play to make. He has to kind of like hurdle over somebody, but a lot of times when you see guys that are being drafted, especially like in the first couple of rounds, they make those type of plays.
Yeah, well, and you can't forget that. I think it gets lost in translation at times. We're comparing them to college guys way too often when they're coming for established professionals' jobs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like the standard in the NFL is only going to be faster. So like you kind of have to. You have to be critical because it's going to be something that's obvious down the road.
If we're noticing it now, you can guarantee that the week 1 defensive coordinator is already planning for this.
Damn. Oh my goodness.
You like bench pressed him. Yeah.
See, then you start seeing guys like, from other positions make these type of plays where they're kind of cutting through traffic and stopping guys dead in track. Speed. Yeah. Now, I also think that is what Hinky or Finky or whatever. He's not a big guy at all, but just for a guy to just kind of stop him in his tracks like that, just come here.
Well, I also think a lot of people get it, confused. Like he's probably explosive as hell, right? That's why you got these little guys that come with pop. They're explosive.
That's Greg Johnson right there.
What was he thinking?
Really wish Palamalu would have jumped there, but
run. Good tackle.
And there's a tackle. We'll see it from the end zone view. Here he is here. The weird thing is, with as much of a motor as he does have, I feel like we haven't seen him actually like convert on tackles too often in this game.
Yeah.
That's the first one we've seen.
No, I think there was.
Was there one more?
There was like one more a little earlier where he was kind of involved in it, but you just
that's the first solo.
Yeah, okay, yeah, definitely. I think this is the first solo. But with a guy that is as active as he is, and as with the motor, you would think that he would be involved in more. There are a lot of people now. I see a lot of the comments that were saying, he is he'll be a core special teamer. But I think one thing that we kind of miss out on, even with like special teamers, a lot of these guys are really athletic, like they're freaky athletes.
Yeah. I was about to say, I remember a thread from you, Eric. You were being very honest in your assessment of your NFL career, and you're like, I just sucked on special teams, like that, and we talk about how, if he's this so playing at safety, well, at special teams, like they want you even faster. The whole point of it is get down there, tackle the ball carrier or the ball catcher as quickly as humanly possible, make plays, keep the field position battle. And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, the guys I know who are like good special teamers, like they're some of the better athletes that I know a lot of times. Right. And they can fly.
So here's a comment by my guy, Cleveland. He says he meant to put Richard Sherman, and I think he meant to put isn't very fast or is very fast yesterday, but plays very smart, mental over speed. So I think what he's saying is Sherman's not the fastest guy, but because of his mind, he's able to play, very well. And I think one thing when we start talking about Sherman and his athleticism, his combine time was what, 4.57?
Yeah. So
obviously, that's not great. But when you start talking about combine time and hand time, I bet if it was hand time, he'd probably be clocked at around 4.48, 4.49 hand time.
Somebody had him at 4.4. I guarantee it.
whereas Hufanga was 4'6" hand time. So
in the length.
yeah, and then Sherman also has that length, and then obviously like the smarts to be able to play. And also, I mean, while we're talking about Richard Sherman, that as well is why he was like a 5th round pick too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I guess the
we look at
comparison.
Richard Sherman when he's sort of the exception, not the rule. Like he
Mhm.
sort of became the modern day prototype for a quarterback at 6 foot or cornerback at 6'1". That was sort of when the NFL was experimenting
6'3".
with those.
Sherman
Is
6'3".
he
Long,
6'3"?
long.
I thought he was only
He's long,
6'1",
long.
6'2". I'm 6'7", so
Damn.
like everybody's short to me. So
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, nah, Sherman is definitely he's 6'3". He was a sub 4'6" guy, but we're talking about combine time, which let me try to see if I can pull up maybe a pro day number and see
And he was a
how
good
it was.
athlete though. Like I think some guys just aren't sprinters. But when you add in the 6'3" and his ability to jump and all that stuff, like obviously, like you said, he is the exception. But I wouldn't want to compare a safety to a corner. They're asked to do different things. It's a weird one.
So Sherman ran a 4.53 at his pro day.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely not the most athletic guy. And I mean, also we also know even with Richard Sherman, I think he went to a scheme that suited where he was going to play, and how he was going to play, and him being able to do that well.
he also got the benefit of going to a coach who knew him from college.
Right.
We don't talk about that enough. There was a consistency in coaching for literally almost 8 years,
That matters. That matters.
All right, here we go. Let's get back to it. All right, here he is right here. It's not bad. Obviously, like you see, and I try to look at little things, like, well, how quick does he close out of the break? Does he ever close, right? Does he ever get in position to where he's able to kind of touch the tight end? And you don't see that. And we're not talking about a receiver that's running away from him. We're talking about a tight end. So ideally what you would like to see is out of this break, can he close and get to him eventually at some point? And you don't see that. So now there
you do see it more with Orlando. This is where the 2019 disclaimer comes back in. Orlando asked a lot more of his guys in terms of that physicality when you meet guys. Like, I want you to put a hand on him. I want you to hand fight. Like, and these things did lead to penalties, illegal contact downfield, pass interference, yada, yada, yada. But over the course of the whole 5 games, they did not play Colorado. That the USC played during the regular season, Talanoa was a lot more active in meeting guys, putting hands on them, and really making them earn. He wasn't just letting guys like Cole Kmet run by him anymore. So I think that this is where the 2019 disclaimer comes in, though I'm not saying he's perfected it by any means. We're still going to see those flaws. Even on 2020 film, he was just a little bit better at it, I think, because of the coaching.
Yeah. So here
I'm not sure
right
if that jives with what you saw when you watched 2020 film, John.
With the 2020 film, I saw all the things that had me excited early on, like the plays. Like, I'm like, how's he run the ball so much? Oh, he caught this tip ball. He knocked this ball down, or he caught this interception, or or he made this play, or he forced that pressure. But then, like, I saw a lot of other things. Like the UCLA game was like one of those games where I was like, okay. Like, that was a weird one for me, a really weird game, because there was times where he just got flat out outran, and I was like, I hated that. Like, what? That was bad. Like, you don't have the wheels. And then there was times where he'd make a play, and I'm just like, okay, but I get it. So that was an alarming game for me during the evaluation process.
I don't think his game against the Ducks was all that good either.
Yeah, he missed a few tackles in that one.
there are a few issues when it comes to, but see, this is the thing with the Pac-12 is just so damn diverse compared to other conferences, you know. And I'm not saying that other conferences aren't diverse themselves, but it's like 1 week you're playing the run and shoot, the next week you're playing the air raid, the next week you're playing, you know, a Chip Kelly's, you know, zone option. It's just, there are just so many different things that are going on in the Pac-12, and any one given week you could just, but the trends are there for him. Against the quicker teams, we see a lot more of those flaws on tape. Against the more physical teams with the slower receivers like Utah, I think he does a lot better.
And that worries me about how like his translation a little bit to the next level. You know what I mean? Like the game's changing. Obviously, like we've seen receivers get smaller, faster, all that good stuff. Like there is nowhere to hide for him. So unless I feel like a team, kind of like what the Chargers did with White, you know, he played in that 3-3-5 in West Virginia or whatever, and then they played him more as a primary linebacker. You know, if he goes back up to his natural weight, which I think is honestly 215, I don't think he would have a problem like playing in the box on third down. But I saw somebody mention Deion Buchanan earlier. I know he's bigger than him and faster, but you know, that may be his role on the next level.
Yeah,
as a third down backer type guy.
Yeah.
And if you make a nice career doing that too, especially if you know, like you said, you do your job week in and week out, you can have a nice, long, productive NFL career.
Yeah. And just for some of the comments, I know a lot of people are like, you know, he's going to be a good, you know, special teamer. And I think that may be true, but ideally you don't draft a guy at 5th round because you think he's going to be a good special teamer. Typically, like, it's like if he is a good special teamer, like that's added value.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you would like to draft somebody that can come in and immediately be a special teamer. But anytime you draft somebody, it's like you want them to play. Like, you want them to be a part of. Yeah. Now, again, the special teams is added value, and you have to be able to play special teams. And I couldn't, and that was part of the reason why I was never going to last in the league. You know,
you was a superstar. You was a superstar in college, so they didn't throw you on special teams.
Man, I wasn't on special teams. I wasn't no superstar. I wouldn't say that, but I mean, I was all conference and stuff. But
yeah,
I just didn't play special teams like that. And then you get into the NFL.
Memories. My bad.
Well, you get to the NFL, and you know you're on kickoff return, and a guy that's 6'5", 250 pounds and runs a 4.4 is like running full speed at you. It's like,
man,
bro, I ain't never had this. Like,
look, who was it? The cat from Youngstown State. The Patriots drafted him in the 3rd round a couple years ago from Youngstown. I'll never forget it. My junior year, I'm on kickoff return. I drop back. You know, he's big. Way bigger. Like I'm 215. He was way bigger than me. And when I tell you, watching the replay on ESPN when I went home the next day and he just blew through me, horrible feeling. Horrible feeling.
Let's talk about this right here a little bit. I will say I like the communication. I pointed this out with Amber Thomas, who I felt like was like damn near like a coach on the field. And you see him here. So let me pause it on where he's at. He's here, right here, but right on the shift, you see him kind of communicate to the other guys around him. So you see him here, look at the communication, make sure everybody understands on the same page. And then you go out there and you play like, so, you know, things like that. I definitely like, you know, to see, because I understand it make, you know, you understand that his head is in the right spot. A lot of things happen really fast, whether it's in college or in the field. It's like a shift happens right now. Then you have to understand, like, your responsibility might change from when you're to the boundary to now you're to the field. And, you know, things can kind of change, and you got to really understand, you know, at the drop of a dime, like what that change is.
Yeah, that's one thing I never noticed to a negative degree, I would say, is what did he lack those communication skills? I really felt that he took a leadership position, you know, in 2019 at times, but definitely in 2020, he was much more of a leader. And I'm sure a lot of that was in anticipation of declaring for the draft and, you know, college coaches doing what they can to get you ready for the draft. But there weren't many times. I mean, that's not to say USC didn't have communication issues on defense at times, but there weren't specific instances that I think I could point to and say, like, this game was because Hufanga really lacked in communication. Like, you're always going to have one or two plays, and you just don't know where the communication breakdown was unless you know the play, that was called in. You just don't know. But there weren't instances where I thought, like, oh, it's got to be Hufanga because this consistently happens to him.
Yeah, I was
There's no
looking
reason
at
for
that
him.
too.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to drop.
Sideline.
Yeah,
Like he should be more square.
He can.
But look how he
that.
dropped too. Look how this guy dropped too. So I mean, I don't know if that's. I don't know what the hell is going on.
That's weird because it almost. I feel like he's the underneath player right there.
Yeah, he's
like,
supposed to be here.
rob that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing, but they all did it. I don't know.
See, that's
everybody's
that's why I feel like this is a Pendergast issue, because when you see a communication breakdown with an entire defense, that one's on the coordinator, to my mind.
Right.
I'm sure ex-players would agree, but when you just see a communication failure of that magnitude, to me, that's on the call. Like, did the call get in? Was it?
That didn't make sense, though. Yeah, that didn't make any sense, but he's aggressive. Who's the corner? Oh, he was aggressive.
What's his number?
That was a linebacker.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you talking about right here that came up to on the block right here?
Yeah, I like that. I like
that's Greg Johnson. That's Greg Johnson.
Number 9 keep popping up.
Yeah. That's cool thing too.
That's
like when you're watching the film and you start noticing the other, like a guy just kind of pop, and then several times and you kind of just take notes, and then that ends up being a guy that
too. Greg Johnson. He's a smaller dude, but he likes to hit people, and I kind of enjoy it.
Let's see. They're talking. They're kind of lost, it looks like.
Yeah, lost in the sauce there. He should have stayed where he was.
Ooh, this is a good job by 21.
Yeah. I like that dip. Look how he came through there.
Is that what you were watching too?
Absolutely cheated that, man.
so watch him come in here. He fights underneath all the stuff and then sets the edge. Watch him set the edge. Look, I got to come in here. I got to fight underneath, get outside, boom, set the edge. So, like, they can't get outside of him.
That was a beautiful dip, though. I love how he got through there.
That's a good football play.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing that really kind of helps at that spot is whenever there would be some sort of consistency to who he would play alongside. And Palamalu is that guy that can get there. Like, he is that guy, like you said, like can hit that dip and be a step ahead. And I think that's why having Palamalu and Hufanga next to each other as a safety combo, it worked at times. Because both guys kind of play off of what the other can do. One is a slower, more methodical player, and then Palamalu is a little bit more of an explosive kind of guy. But again, difference in coaching.
All right, so I think what I'll do now is I'll kind of because we've been on here for an hour.
Yeah,
I'll dip into some of the. This is not what I wanted here.
I think we've seen a lot of.
What I'll do is I'll get to some of the. It won't be all 22, but it'll be some 2020 film, and we'll just kind of see from the, just from this film, like what we can actually kind of see. And see if there's any just kind of differences.
Yeah, typically just seeing a jump. I want to see I like to see what guys got better at. I always start with the previous year anyway. So if I'm watching a 2022 draft prospect, obviously I'm going to watch his sophomore and junior tape first, and then I'm going to see what he got better at. Because I already have an idea of his weaknesses from that film. So I want to see what he improved on. Did he get faster? Did he get quicker? Is he breaking better? Does he look a little twitchier?
Right. All right, here we go. Oh, it's in this. USC
So the
offense
wrong
right
team,
now.
ain't it?
Yeah, I'm fast forwarding ahead.
Arizona State's got 2 corners.
Yeah, Lucas
Chase
and
Lucas.
and Jack Jones.
Yep. Jack Jones used to be at USC.
Jack Jones was at USC too. He
Yeah.
started his
Long
career
Beach,
at
right?
USC. Yeah.
Well, he
Really
was kind of getting ate up one year.
what really actually has kind of turned the corner for ASU is they hired Chris Hawkins,
Young guy.
who was actually a USC
USC safety
quarterback.
number 4.
His dad, Armand Hawkins, actually runs the Ground Zero 7-on-7 team.
Okay, I'm definitely familiar with. Yeah, I'm familiar with Ground Zero.
Chris Hawkins was a USC guy himself, and now he's over at Arizona State, and he's doing really well there.
He's like the youngest position coach in the country, isn't he?
One of.
He's like, what, 24, 25? 25?
He just stopped playing not too long ago.
Yeah,
I remember. Okay, so
here he goes here. He's back in the box where he was kind of up high. Here he goes right here.
He's a career player. Okay.
See, that's what you were wanting to see last time. Does he drive on it? I mean, he still doesn't get there, but
they're still in quarters. They're in quarters right here, huh? The corner that he got caught up or something. I guarantee it, because
they could be playing a trap coverage to the boundary, where you can. Because there is
up. He fell. Yeah, that was weird.
That's Max Williams.
All right, let's see. Should be him right here. Oh, we got a commercial, y'all.
Our bad. We'll skip it in 25 seconds. This is what you get. You get free games.
Right. So we got Keith in here. No Seahawks chat happening. Not that I know of, man. Not that I know of.
Didn't you say something like you hate those guys a while back?
The Seahawks? Yeah, I can't. They're always hella good. You know, me being a Niner fan, it's like, damn, man, just go away.
They added Eskridge. They grabbed Tamir Terry, whatever, from Florida State. Like, I don't think it's getting easier to cover him.
Yeah, I don't know about Terry though. I'm not.
Terry, he failed because of off the field stuff.
Okay,
like I feel like the ability's there. You know, kind of just a deep threat guy.
I saw somebody try to compare him to like DK Metcalf, and I was like,
no, different animal.
So where is he at? Here he is, right here. Okay, he's kind of blitzing. He just gets caught up on the blitz. Here he is, here.
That popped up a lot. That little blitz that he did in 2020.
They asked it a lot of him because he was sort of one of those dudes that didn't mind the responsibility of it or understood the responsibility of it. So you saw a lot more of Hufanga blitzing in the early games. Like, I think Arizona State was either the first or the second game. I think it was the second game they played. I think Arizona was the first. So this is still, you know, I mean, there are only 5 games that year, 6 if you count the Pac-12 title game against Oregon. So this is only, you know, the first third of Orlando being there.
Yeah. Okay. So he's here, and it looks like he's kind of in man coverage on the nickel, on the slot guy, and just them kind of putting him in that position says maybe to a jump that they thought he took. I would assume, right? This isn't necessarily trying to hide a guy.
Yeah. I mean, you got, at the end of the day, you know, you have to play. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
Your DC is gonna ask you to do stuff, and you got to try to go out there and do what you can with it. Some type of stubby.
He was at like deep safety on this play.
Mm-hmm.
Single high, because he's out the screen. He kind of gets there. I'm a little tired of seeing him just kind of get there, but not really make a play.
Yeah, he's like right almost there.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you're kind of always almost there.
And I think a lot of it's like one thing. Okay.
Yeah, this is Train. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and take that the whole way.
Yeah. One thing I watch, I know with safeties, I like to see like them be ready to play. And I feel like he has a real casual stance, Talanoa.
Yeah,
And I feel like he hops a little bit too much. But that's just me being really critical about the position. I feel like
yeah.
the best guys are like ready to go, and so they can react a lot faster.
Damn. There are a lot of ads in this. I apologize. This is the one I sent Eric.
It's not good. I also know watching films. Okay. Ha 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 ha. It's a username.
I mean, this is going to sound like an excuse, and to some extent it is, but there were a decent number of times that as a result of him always being around the play that he was able to get in on either a fumble or an interception.
Like
Right.
a tip ball.
Yeah, and so but you can't rely on those when you're in the NFL. You know, you can't as a defense hope that this guy occasionally makes a play. Like you want to see him around the ball making plays more often, but you know, he did have some minor success with always being in the area.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
There you go.
I like that big guy, Drake
There you
London.
go. Like I said, there's almost always something of Hufanga being in the area and making a play as a result.
I saw Carr transferred, right?
Yeah.
He went to the transfer. I feel like he's been at
Yeah.
USC for like hell of years.
I remember his freshman year. Didn't he used to wear a bunch of bands or something?
Yeah,
like
well, he was there with Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
I think I'll stop there. So
He just
that's
never
probably,
cashed in on what they recruited him as. Like it just I wish him all the success and hope he does go on to show what he's capable of, because Carr's high school tape was something cool to watch. You know, I mean, it's not always a 1-to-1 translation, but I kind of feel like he committed to Dellen McCullough, and then Dellen McCullough took off to go to Kansas City, and now he's at Indiana. So, like, I kind of feel like that. And losing McCullough to me was kind of significant for SC. I don't think they've had a running game since McCullough's been gone. So, I hope Carr has all the success in the world. But Eric, you were going to say?
No, I was gonna say I think we should kind of just end on that note with his film. I think we took away a lot, like a little, but a lot as well. I think like kind of my takeaways were you probably ideally would like to see him be a little bit more athletic, and I think that's a like way to kind of sum it up. Somebody in the comments said, "Okay, so is Hufanga a bust?" And I would say no, like he's a 5th round pick. So anytime you draft somebody in the 5th round, I would say you're more so thinking like, hey, we'll see, right? It's like we'll see. Like there are things that you like. There's probably things that you don't like, but all right, you know, we do think that he's a good football player, and we'll just kind of see where he ends up shaking up at. I think the one thing that's not fair to him, as far as like overall in our criticism of him, is I am solely going off of what we saw from 2019 and not 2020 at all. So I think what
happens to be 2019 against Notre Dame, which, you know, Clay Helton doesn't have the greatest track record against Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, I'm not one of those USC apologists who's going to come on any program and be like, "No, I swear he's going to be good." I honestly think this is, like you said, it's a wait and see. I think there's potential there. I think, you know, if he gravitates towards the coaching, maybe there's a bit of that Richard Sherman, you know, where intelligence and mental can outlast the physical. But I definitely think it's a wait and see proposition. If he ends up becoming successful, I won't be the least bit surprised. If he ends up not working out like Suak Ravens, I won't be the least bit surprised. Such is the state of USC player development at the current moment.
Someone asked a question. They said, "Are you hopeful that he becomes a Daniel Sorensen?" And I would say Sorensen is somebody. And I just looked up his 40 time. You know, he ran a 4.67. So he's a guy who wasn't very big. He weighed in at 205. Was old when he got drafted. He was 24 years old, but still, you know, he's had some level of success as a safety in the NFL and won the Super Bowl with Kansas City Chiefs starting at safety. So I think that's your best case scenario. Hoping that he, kind of ends up being a guy like that. Also, I mean, looking at some of his pro agility numbers, his short shuttle, Sorensen's, and this might be like kind of the difference, I guess. Sorensen's short shuttle and 3-cone are elite. Like,
is it sub 4?
huh?
He go sub 4?
Okay, what
like,
would you guess?
Is he a
All right,
3?
so-
I'm saying
so-
3-4-4.
Okay, so
3-4-4.
No, I wouldn't say 3-4. I don't know if I've ever seen that. So his 40-yard dash was a 4.67.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 40-yard dash is a 4.67.
Yeah.
I'd say most defensive backs, I mean, and we're talking about the good ones, are probably anywhere between 3.9 to 4.1, right?
Yeah.
Like, so what do you think his is?
Well, if you said elite, I'm gonna go 3.9. Like, I mean,
3.95.
yeah, that's a legit short shuttle time. Like that's
All right,
that's movement.
and then now 3-cone. All right, most 3-cones are what 7.1, 6.9. So
like sub 7 is good. If he hit anything 6.8, that's great. 6.8 and below, that's great.
6.47.
Holy shit.
That's got to be a record.
I don't know.
To a record. No, I bet that's close. That's got to be close to a record. Like that's not.
And this is combine too. Like this is his combine short shuttle.
Yeah, that explains why he's starting.
So where he maybe lacks in just being able to hold his long speed, his initial short distance, change of direction, and all that is like elite. Like he can change direction. 6.28. Wow, that's
who
crazy.
was that?
Thomas. Hold on. Jordan Thomas, Oklahoma State.
All right. Well, he's not Jordan Thomas, but nobody is really.
That's ridiculous. 6'4".
6'4".
That's
7.
absurd.
I've never seen that.
That's absurd. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
So that's the one thing with him where, with Hufanga, we'll see what he was in that, but I'd have a hard time thinking that it's a 6.47. But when you want to see a guy who possibly had to figure out different ways to kind of make up for his lack of long speed, it's like, well, his short area, change of direction and all that is like elite. So and this is a response to someone saying, are we hopefully he becomes a Daniel Sorensen? I would say if you look at some of those numbers, that might be the difference in why Sorensen is still able to, play in the NFL. Is because, he might not be able to run vertically with a guy down the field all the way, but his short area ability is still really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
But
man, I'm gonna get you guys out of here. Are there anything that you guys would like to kind of just say in closing? Josh, any closing thoughts on Hufanga and maybe what you think his ideal fit is in the NFL?
I mean, I think there's something to be said for him being somewhat of a linebacker, strong safety hybrid where you're emphasizing the linebacker portion. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up working out either way. He's probably not big enough. But, I mean, you never know. Who knows? Right. But I'll just maintain a consistent line and say, I think he's a guy that's a positive locker room player. He works his butt off on the field. He communicates with other players around him, which will endear you to your teammates. And he does his job, which also endears you to your teammates. So if you draft a player that does all of those things, do you consider it a success? I mean, well, obviously that's going to depend on what happens, but at least in the initial, there's a lot to like about this pick. If you're a Niner fan, you definitely could have gotten a safety who's less team oriented, who's less focused on communication and more about him. I'm not saying he is going to be Troy Palamalu, but in terms of his approach, his mentality, the way that he processes his faith, things like that, it does remind you of Polamalu, just in that he's going to play on a team like Polamalu did. He's gonna communicate. He's gonna be a good guy. He's not gonna do anything off the field that's gonna embarrass you. He's never gonna say anything outlandish to the press. That's just not the type of guy he is. So I liked the pick. Honestly, when I heard the 49ers drafted him, I thought the only way this could have gone better is if he had gone to maybe Brandon Staley and the Chargers. You know, like I don't know. But when I heard the 49ers drafted him, I thought it was the best possible fit for him.
Okay. Guys, and John, what kind of what are your just kind of thoughts on maybe his fit with the 49ers?
Just
or maybe what they might ask of him.
Overall, obviously, if you take a guy like that, you have some idea, what you want to do with him. I don't have very high expectations for him because I feel like the league is changing. I feel like you have to be able to cover to play safety. You know what I mean? Like, it's just too many of these guys are interchangeable. Like, you see a guy like Richie Grant, right? One of the second safety drafted this year. He is so quick and agile, and he's able to play in the slot. I don't know if Talanoa has the ability to do any of that. You know what I mean? I feel like 15 years ago, he would have been, everything and then some. Everybody would have been loving him, throw him in the first, second round. But I just feel like he's going to have a hard time adjusting. Now, if the 49ers take care of him, which I don't think the NFL is that type of, league, then he may do fine because he is a good football player. I just feel like he's one of those guys. He's a good college player. Yeah, you never know how a guy's going to develop on the next level. But I just don't have a lot of expectations for him. I think fifth round, you expect what you expect out of a fifth rounder for the most part. And we'll see how it goes. Like, I think he's good. I think he's a good college football player. I don't know how his game necessarily translates to the NFL unless he has like a niche role. But yeah, that's pretty much my assessment of how he'll fit with the 49ers. They have to have a plan for him, like as far as like a third down backer type guy.
Absolutely.
Or something like that.
All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it. Josh, John, man, I appreciate you guys coming on, joining me. Josh is going to be making an article out of this. Yeah, Josh is going to be making an article out of a lot of this. So I hope you got a lot of what you need to be able to complete your article.
I've got everything I need, believe me. And I'll be sure to share that article with you so you can share with both of you guys can share it with your followers. And John, I'll follow you back after this is over so that way we can get you the article too. So that'll be up on trojanswire.usatoday.com. And yeah, dude, Eric, I can't thank you enough for doing this because this is for my benefit, guys. I asked him to do this.
Yeah. All right. And then Josh, can you also tell everybody where they can find you and follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FightOnTwist. If you like Marvel and sports, then I am absolutely your cup of tea. If you hate nerds, I am absolutely not your cup of tea. I tweet a lot, and I love to talk about nerd stuff in football. The analytics and nerddom, they just kind of go hand in hand. So that's me on Twitter. I'm verified, got the little Thanos picture. If you find me, that's me.
All right, and John, obviously everybody can see you at Jon Hagler CR on Twitter. As for Crocker Report. So can you just talk to the people a little bit about what you're doing and maybe some things that you kind of have planned that you're going to be dropping soon?
Yeah, well, you can follow me at Jon Hagler CR. Look forward to just getting more safety content after you guys. I love covering safety, so I really enjoyed this one. He was a guy I watched during the season. That'll be up on my YouTube channel shortly. Throughout the week, I got interviews, I got breakdowns and stuff coming like that. It'll be under Jon Hagler, and that's where you can find me. It's pretty simple: JONHAGLER, and look forward to getting that out to y'all.
Real quick, John, anything you post on Hufanga or any USC player, I will make sure to turn into a content piece for USA Today so we get some extra eyes on that.
Hey, I'll definitely be, I know we talked about our guy popping. I'll be looking into him for next year for sure.
21,
yeah, got to. I think he did a lot of good stuff. He popped on 2020 as well, so I'll be looking out for him.
Real quick, Josh, did you see? I did my article I wrote not article I wrote, but my YouTube breakdown of Elijah Griffin.
I I think I had it bookmarked. Send it to me tonight in a DM. Link the tweet in a DM, and I'll do something on that. I think I remember seeing it, and I told myself to do something with it. And I appreciate you reminding me because now I can. Send that to me though, and I'll turn that into a content piece as well.
All right. Well, so we'll end on that, or actually, I'll end on this last comment here. All right. So George Kittle was drafted in the 5th round. Mic drop.
Boom.
And I think what most people kind of would tell you is one. Okay, hold on. So they're different kind of positions, right? So like typically your higher end safeties, they're just gonna ideally just typically go higher, right? Like the guys that just have freakish athletic ability and stuff like that. When it came to George Kittle being the 5th round, if you look at kind of when the best safeties, when the best tight ends in the league are drafted, it's really sporadic throughout the entire draft pick. Like it's not just like, oh, the best tight ends are drafted in the 1st round or 2nd round. It's really like, no, they're drafted like 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. And when it came to George Kittle, he was just in an offense that really didn't ask a lot of him at Iowa. So for George Kittle to be able to drop to the 5th round, that was like I don't even want to say he dropped, but it was just like, okay, he's there in the 5th round. But one thing that George Kittle did have over even a guy like Hufanga, he was like very, very talented for a tight end. Like from an athletic testing standpoint, you look at like his numbers and all those type of things. Like George Kittle was like really good at that. The thing with him is he just didn't have like the big numbers or
even when he got the ball though, like his yard per catch and stuff, that it was good. Like his
he only caught like 20 passes. So in like each year. So it wasn't like he was a guy that just was able to jump off, but his numbers were still really good. And I think that was something that not only allowed him to be drafted by the 49ers in the 5th round, but that's one of the reasons why he's so good in the NFL. Came from a system where he's an elite blocker, and then you see the run after catch because of all the other ability he has. So I think it's a little different comparing George Kittle to Hufanga, who maybe lacks athletically, where George Kittle doesn't. George Kittle just kind of lacked a little bit more in the production department, and maybe, and not just production, but in an offense that kind of made it a little bit harder to see where George Kittle is really good at. Where Hufanga is like, you play defensive back, and he's kind of a tweener with everything. But all right, I'm gonna let everybody get up out of here. I might be going live on Striking Gold. I'm about to record with Rob shortly, so if you guys want to like end up seeing that, if we do go live on YouTube, I'll post that for Twitter for all of you guys to see. But here we go for Josh, John. I appreciate you guys. I'm out. Peace.